Everyone, to another podcast session here at High Level. We call them the High Level Podcast Spotlight Sessions, actually. And I've got John Curtis. John's from Australia. He's been with us for many, many years. I've seen John and his company grow in our community, well respected in our community as well. John and I got together. I think we've had quite the time on scheduling. He's a pretty busy guy as well. And we finally got him to say yes to us on a podcast. And now, as we kind of organized our conversation, we want to make sure this is fruitful for you. So, the theme of today's conversation is getting in front of customers through personal devices. And in order to really articulate that well for everybody here that's watching, we're going to have three discussion points: the power of SMS marketing. Second, understanding relationship with high level and integrations in general. We're kind of functioning like a brotherly relationship here as company to company. And I want to kind of unpack that. And the third thing is the MinkText story in Australia. John built something beautiful there, but let me have him talk about it. John, tell us your story. How did you get started in the world of entrepreneurship and business?
Hey, Paulson, thank you for having me. Yeah, where did we start? Look, we started my agency, 10 years ago, just selling the standard digital marketing services, SEO, ads, building websites. And the conversation started to getting a little thin where you're trying to pitch SEO to people. So we actually developed our own app for SEO, for transparency, and that still runs today. But the intention was that we wanted to always have a different point of view and a different conversation point. And we achieved that through this app. But come the pandemic, we discovered HighLevel. HighLevel to us was a different conversation piece, but for our customers, probably had about 80 to 90 businesses I was managing at the time. Um, we found that it was really obvious that they were spending all of their time, funds, and energy chasing new leads. And it really became apparent that we need to have a CRM so that they could tap into their existing customer base. And HighLevel came into the picture, and the capability, as you say, with SMS, just meant that existing customers that they'd spoken to 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or new ones were suddenly just direct conversations, and it really, really hit home that that was something we needed to push for our
Yeah.
customers and future customers.
And John, what's your background? Are you a software engineer? Are you a business strategist person? Like what is your background before we get into, unwinding the SMS networks worldwide?
Paulson, I've been a salesperson all my life. I've sold real estate. I was a real estate agent. I worked in taxis and transport selling, and I really wanted to knuckle down. And when I discovered digital marketing, originally I was a tradie, which is why my niche now is trades because I understand their pain points. But realistically, I was just always really a very good communicator, I feel, and maybe not in a public setting like this with you, but certainly generally I feel that sales has been my main core strength. Starting my agency 10 years ago, I discovered my business partner who's been with me for 10 years, Sushil. And yeah, we found him. I found him on Upwork, and he's my chief tech and the brains trust of all of our technological development. So he's my chief tech officer. I'm a strategist that really just sees pain points and selling points and solves problems for individual markets. And then obviously I rely on my team and my chief tech to build those solutions. And that's really what we've done with obviously the beautiful framework that you offer at HighLevel. We've built on top of that significantly to provide a custom solution to our customers.
Yeah, I love that. And I think I share this common thread with you of being the strategy guy. I'm not a tech wizard at all, and I have to have
No,
a pretty smart team behind me to get anything done. So kudos to you. So SMS marketing, what is behind this thing called SMS marketing? What is that?
I think the simplest example that I always demonstrate with my customers in a one-to-one demo is getting on their website, showing them what it feels like to complete a contact form, and it say, "Thanks, we'll be in touch." It's kind of where the conversation ends. That's what it's been for standard websites for forever. When we engaged with HighLevel, that capability of not just having the web chat, which we pioneered and actually created a web chat for ourselves before HighLevel, but realistically having the contact forms feed into HighLevel and trigger an SMS direct to the customer, their most personal and treasured device, was super powerful. And then that creating a thread of conversation to qualify, answer questions, and book jobs was really something that just made a significant jump and made our businesses we're working with realize the value of what we were offering as a service because it was so tangible, right? I mean, you could have a workflow operate in the background and all these automations, but unless they're feeling that person-to-person connectivity, which SMS provides, they can go, wow, this system is working for us.
Yeah, so help me understand Australia. What
Mm.
is the landscape of marketing? Like I've got a couple of cousins there, but outside of that, I don't really understand the economic landscape of text marketing, marketing in general. Obviously, we are a US-based company. Predominantly, we're US focused. We're tapping into small international communities out there with, leaders like yourself. But help us understand what are the problems you dealt with when it comes to SMS marketing in general? Because obviously it's powerful. We're all in agreement on that. But you're in a different world out there of landscape that you're dealing with compared to us.
Yeah, well, Paulson, I could tell you, having lived in Los Angeles for a few years myself, we're exactly the same, but we're very different. But when it comes in terms of SMS capability or technologically, the platform as it stands that you're developing, and it is amazing, is not always doesn't obviously come across the same as in different markets, and typically that's due to local carrier implications. So something that works in the US wouldn't necessarily work here. A simple example of that being picture messaging, and so would be amazing for industries such as gyms and obviously other car sales, whatever it may be. Being able to send and receive pictures is super powerful. So that was probably something lacking that we wanted to try and address. But realistically, the customer journey is the same here as it is in any world. Consumer needs to connect with the business. Once some pain point solved, you want to give a really nice, consistent thread of communication, and probably one of the things we were talking about before we hopped on was that in other markets outside the US, carriers locally can really disrupt that process with heavy costs of SMS, and that's something that we've tried to overcome as well.
Yeah, so help me understand, the world of SMS marketing from a business standpoint. Like, I mean, obviously we can all just connect our devices and use it for business purposes, right? But we don't do that because it backs up a bunch of, I guess, servers or whatever the thing is. Like, help us understand the science behind of why you set out to build what you built.
Right. First and foremost, when we started, and this was pre HighLevel having rebilling, we built rebilling 5 years ago. We were the first to do that and offer that. I was on a Chase Buckner highlight special or spotlight special and talked about our solution. I think with our go to market there, to be honest, there's probably only 3 or 4 agencies in the whole of Australia even aware of HighLevel. So it probably didn't have the cut through that it might have today. But the reason why rebilling was important to me personally was because compliance was something that really meant a lot. Because in Australia, the regulations such as A2P that you're facing now, we have regulatory bundles that were mandatory in Australia. So that wasn't something that was being followed in the HighLevel community because it didn't apply. So having to follow that process, wanting to try and achieve a better SMS rate, and also have just a better, slicker onboarding process. As you know, selling HighLevel, there's so many moving parts, and the easier you can get a customer onboarded by making the journey as seamless as possible. Now, asking someone to go get their utility bill to prove their address, etc., it can be a minefield and just enough for them to go forget about it. Needless to say, then you tell them the SMS rates, and then they go, look, this is all getting too expensive. So we really wanted to simplify that journey, make the product as easy to obviously onboard as possible. And from an agency's perspective, a bookkeeping, like retrospectively trying to chase up every single sub account spend after the fact is not the best business model, as you can appreciate. So it became an absolute nightmare. So we've created the capability to do auto top-ups, and that solution within MinkText still exists to this day. And we've talked about this previously, Paulson. You know, we know that any business, if you spend a lot or you're a major contributor, a bigger contract, you can pull a bit more strings. And we've managed to have a very strong relationship with Twilio here in Australia, so much so that we've actually enabled us to get rates that are not achieved anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
go
let's talk
ahead.
about the second thing, right, of the discussion.
Hmm.
Our whole topic is getting in front of customers with personal devices. We just really unpacked the power of SMS marketing. Let's talk about the second thing, which is understanding your high level relationship. We're playing in the same sandbox. You have integrations, you're built on top of it, and we both have essentially the parent partner of Twilio. Like, help me understand how visualize your relationship with high level.
Yeah, good question. For us, HighLevel provided the framework with the CRM. As I said, we're running a marketing agency, but we were putting a lot of trust in the business owners that they were actually handling their leads as well as they could. Okay, they were getting the website built by us. We were running the ads, doing their SEO. But then, there's always that you run agencies, Paulson. When you've got a customer at the end of the month or quarterly saying we need more leads, we said, well, okay, is there a better way for us to actually see how well they're managing those leads? And when you're dealing with a customer who's great at tiling or roofing or selling cars, they may not be so good at actually doing sales and managing the customer journey. And that's where we saw that HighLevel framework gave us that capability to give a really nice, concise way of managing the customer from a cold lead or inquiry through to a quote, through to a booked appointment, and then a sale. And so that framework was definitely something that we employed through HighLevel. And obviously, we've gone from different industries and landed in the one that works really well for us, which is in the home services or the tradies market, as we call it in Australia. And having built on top of it, knowing our customers use other third-party softwares such as Simpro, ServiceMate, Arrowflow, and so on, we didn't want to disrupt. As we know, Paulson, HighLevel can be overwhelming for people. It does so many things. If you and I are talking HighLevel, we're comfortable with it. We're talking lead nurture, capture. Go and talk to a Sparky about leads or an electrician about leads. He thinks you're talking about the cord that plugs into the wall. For us, it means a different context. So that educational piece was something where we want to keep the systems that they have in place, but integrate HighLevel as seamlessly into that customer journey as much as we could. SMS was just another functionality that we wanted to build on top because it solves the problem for our particular audience outside of the US.
I love that. So integration. So those folks that are out there in the world of, I guess, development. I mean,
Yeah.
it must have been almost frightening for someone like you to be like, you know what, I'm gonna integrate with high level while I'm competing with one of their most powerful tools, which is obviously text marketing. Help me understand how you mentally unpack that, and then also let's talk about it because this is an interesting relationship where you're serving a Australian market, and I think it's interesting for everyone to understand how well high level can play along and kind of complement somebody's efforts. And perceptually, it could be like, oh, we're competing. And it's not really competition when we're working together against the entire market, is how I look at it. Can you unpack that for me?
No, it's a big one. I think it's an amazing platform, and I think the people behind it, Sean, etc., having an open book to say, you know what you know, but outside you can't have eyes and ears on the ground in every market. Okay. And it's just like in every vertical, you're so much more knowledgeable about how to sell a solution the more you niched out. So for us, I think it's a beautiful play that you guys enable carriers like MinkText to actually function with HighLevel. Not only does it make it easier for agencies to sell HighLevel and compete with other platforms that are trying to win. Let's face it, CRMs and selling AI tools and pipeline managers are all very, very hot topics at the moment. So realistically, by us solving the unlimited solution or having a cheaper SMS rate, because I know our competitors and I won't name them, but they pick at our solution. And I say ours, the high level community, because it's a pay for what you use. And in my market, that's a strong sentiment. You can place a lot of seed of doubt in the eyes of a business owner who's, a plumber, or, selling cookies, or a restaurateur, and just say, oh, they've got this solution, but oh, the SMS is going to be huge. It's an unknown. So being able to keep that at a relatively, easy conversation to say, look, don't fret. It means that the ability to sell the solution locally here, it makes it a lot easier in that regard. But yeah, it's been something for us that we've been on a journey to learn our local market. But yeah, being in a carrier that almost competes with you guys but doesn't necessarily, I respect you guys for opening that up. You're doing the same thing with, your payment gateways and providing different options for different markets because, Stripe isn't a one size fits all for everyone. And the same way as Twilio, as a telco, it isn't. And it started with Mailgun and email at the beginning, and I had my own options there as well. So, kudos to you guys to realize that if my guys are winning in my market and we're, if we help 10, 20, or 100 agencies sell more high level, well, it's a win for you guys too, because, it's an entry point for you guys. So, it's that mutual benefit that I think that happens from
Yeah.
both of us.
Yeah, because I mean, what's the other option, right? Go to battle by yourself against the entire market, right? And where here we have the opportunity to kind of be one family while democratizing the SaaS world, right? And
Mm.
like that's the way I'm looking at it. So, John, help us understand an Australian agency. Like, how do they look at their customer base? What is different about an Australian-based agency or someone overseas, essentially, for that matter, versus maybe a US-based agency? Because I think some of the solutions that you're talking about, integrations, payments, SMS, like there's a different view about it versus maybe someone like myself who built, two agencies here in the US. Help us understand that.
Yeah, I'm trying to break down what that question would be. Like in terms of how I perceive things, I mean, I've got a unique perspective of how we try and provide solutions for our customers. I honestly think it's much like the US. It's just that
Okay.
as a high level agency, I never really wanted to just sell high level. I always wanted to build customization on top because by definition, I'd be competing purely on price. And for me, I wanted to have a unique selling proposition where I'll tell you, Paulson, even in my presentations, I refer to generic CRMs that aren't purpose built. And in that regard, I refer to high level, which is a solution that suits all industries. Lana or my white label agency wasn't. It's built on top of that solution. So it's actually not a generic solution in my niche. So yeah, I implore anyone that's looking at getting on board with high level to definitely get familiar with an audience that they can solve a problem for and build as much on top of the platform and much customization as possible. Because really, you're starting to solve specific problems for your audience, and it makes for a really stickier client. And yeah, I think that's worked really well for us.
Yeah, and let's be honest, there's no other way to differentiate now that almost, a ton of marketing agencies are all on high level, right? They all
Agreed.
have the house of an operating system of some kind. So then it
Mhm.
really, what I love about what we do is it keeps the marketer really honest about
100%.
their marketing skills. Your marketing skills have to be elevated. It has to be essentially elite for you to be able to really compete. Otherwise, you're providing the same solutions everybody else has, and then it just matter of, like you said, price or
Mm.
presentation of an offer, not even the offer, right? It's your sales skill.
Yeah.
The next thing I want to really talk about is, your integration, your story. Help us understand MinkText, Lana. Like, help me understand the whole story of what you've built. Obviously, it took several years, several reiterations, multiple team members, multiple testings, but give us chapter one onwards.
Okay. Well, yeah, initially the conversation was, as I said, wanting to get a better system to manage. I remember having chats with the high level team, and it was like, hey, yeah, just I actually had an audit done by a friend of mine who used to be my business partner, and I said, just review, I review my company and just find gaps or single points of failure. And he just said, are you registering all these numbers on your agency? And I said, yeah, it's just the quickest, easiest way to do it. And he said, so if one of them decides to go rogue and start sending messages at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, are you covered for that? Because, regulations with spamming, etc. And that hit home. I was thinking, wow, this is super important that we fly straight, because not only is our business working to get more companies, well, businesses working with us under our agency, but they're communicating with their customers. And let's be honest, there's a level of education you need to give them to say what they're sending and receiving is going to the consumer in a lot of the instances, B2C. And there's certain, parameters of what you can and cannot do. And so we realized that we wanted to have a better means to manage our agencies, but also protect them from making silly mistakes and not, having customers go rogue on them. So realistically, that was the driver. And then having better SMS rates. And then obviously the evolution that's happened most recently, Paulson, was wanting to have MMS, a picture messaging as well. And for us, that was something that we recently ticked the box of. We actually brought in a third-party carrier. Obviously, we've always dealt directly with Twilio. That level of compliance, by the way, means that when you're dealing directly with a carrier, you're protected by the actions of that carrier, right? When we're, the fact that HighLevel, for example, doesn't allow you just to certainly just run off and do a million text messages instantly, that's not limiting the use. It's protecting the carrier as well and protecting the agency from misuse. Um, so for us, having a carrier that we've partnered with here locally in Australia and having a forged a relationship, we built the capability of sending and receiving messaging, picture messaging, and that's certainly been a great development. And now having unlimited conversational SMS, I just think the power of that for us has been a real game changer. And as I said to you before, dealing with Twilio as well, I think that what we've almost come inadvertently is a telco provider locally here that provides, a more custom hands-on solution. HighLevel is building this amazing CRM with so much capability, but they're not a telecommunications provider and never have pretended to be one. You guys give a capacity to connect accounts. What we offer is that more hands-on. We've got direct account managers at a registered business by the name of Benko that we integrate with here in Australia. That higher level of service that we can give, better SMS rates, obviously the unlimited SMS solution, but realistically making sure you're also compliant and getting your agency. I've always thought, Paulson, future-proof your business, right? Make sure that if you're going to be implementing systems, make sure they still apply in 3 years from now. We were talking about SMS and going, well, one day this will be superseded by something else, right? What will that be? I'm not sure, but our job, and as you said before, being an elite agency owner is actually being ahead of the bell curve and seeing what the next thing is and jumping on that. And I suppose that probably leads into my other thought around AI. You guys are doing some really amazing things. I've been dealing directly with the HighLevel team on what you guys are doing natively, and there are other third-party solutions like ZappyChat and others that are providing a really awesome AI experience. But how terrifying in Australia would it be when an AI bot is having a conversation with a customer who likes to talk a lot? At 8 cents a text, you might have a $14, $15 conversation, and that starts to really surprise the end user. And that's something we really want to avoid with our solution at $60 a month for that phone. It's never going to be a surprise bill. So that's something that we've tried to address ahead of the game. We're all for AI. We know our customers want it. Every single Facebook or Instagram ad is showing it. And our agency is at the front of making sure that it rolls out. And again, I think that AI going to someone's most personal device is the most powerful conversation you can have to get them booked in, quoted, and win that job in whatever niche that you're in.
Yeah, and I love that, and I appreciate you sharing the cadence we have together. And I know you work with a lot of our team members and everything. So it sounds like if I'm an Australian agency, um, I have a big opportunity here with you guys where I have cost reduction, I have efficiency in, someone who understands compliance. And obviously, we're having a lot of conversations about compliance. Doesn't mean we're legal operators or le we're not providing legal advice just as a, just
No,
as a
no.
disclaimer, or any financial, indication that you're going to go make some money. But we're having a conversation about different setups, different tech layers that you have to kind of navigate. So if you're an Australian agency out there listening to this, John, can you talk about the power of SaaS? Because there's a lot of agencies I feel like that are, and I've been part of some of those groups. Like, I mean, I get invited to every Australian and New Zealand Facebook group on. I mean, I'm telling you, I've got 50 of those every single time I open up my social accounts, and
Yeah.
sometimes I wish everything was just consolidated into one big group for the entire community. Maybe I'm selfish thinking about it that way. But help us understand the power of SaaS. Help us understand what the Australian agencies have in their hands.
Yeah, well, we moved to SaaS level only not long ago because we were on the basic solution and providing a lot of the customizations that you've since built. Having the SaaS solution really does empower the agency to really, I suppose, upsell on certain features that they want to focus on. For us, it's just been a great solution for us to embed a process and a reliable, again, I come from a digital service-based experience and background. For every client or every 15 clients you brought on, you'd have to bring on another staff member. The amazing part of SaaS is that you have that capability of selling to 100 potential businesses and potentially bringing on one or two staff. And then fulfillment is so much more behind the eight ball, and scalability is enormous. And so realistically, that's the true advantage. But what I implore people that are looking at HighLevel is don't do it. Don't dip your toe in the water and say that doesn't work. I've worked with businesses that have said, "Oh, Facebook ads doesn't work." Well, when you do it, when you invest in it, the rewards are massive. I've only gotten myself to less, just under 10K a month in Facebook, and I can't keep up with the lead volume. So the same way I think that with SaaS and using HighLevel, I think truly invest and spend as much as you can. Make sure your clients are using all of the functionality. Don't have them send out one text message and hope that the customer's, journey is going to be nurtured. Implore them to actually communicate and leverage all of the functionalities. You know, Pipeline managers and all the other functionalities and automations are just such an amazing tool that HighLevel offers. But yeah, going back to it, building on top of it and making it your own is probably the most, important thing that you could do to differentiate yourself.
Absolutely. John, final thoughts. I mean, we've talked a lot about multiple things. We talked about obviously getting in front of personal devices, power of SMS marketing. You shared your experiences building a pretty competitive lane of an integration with us, right? I mean, that should give a lot of people confidence in building integrations in general. If you can do
Mhm.
that alongside with us in a pretty healthy way, I think the opportunity is endless. We're pretty open to new ideas and concepts. And the third thing we talked about really is just the MinkText story and what that advantage really is for Australian agency. So final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Look, realistically, I've pushed this agency myself and solved a lot of problems. I wouldn't want to say it's just for Australian agencies, but for simplicity, providing a solution for my business and solving a lot of the hurdles that people, in their first 6 months won't realize for another 3 or 4 years. We solved a lot of that in one solution for us. If anyone is looking to jump on board and wants to have an alternate carrier where you have direct support from a local business here in Australia, we provide different carrier options, and I'm also open to having a conversation about any problems that you might face. I've faced them all, litigation, everything. So for us, always happy to to have a chat and lend my opinions or thoughts. But yeah, get in touch with us if you are looking at getting a better rate and want to sell unlimited. We're happy to just give you a guidance. Or you can just jump on our minktext.com.au and have a look at our website with my explainer of what we look to help agencies do to win in their local market. And yeah, I just appreciate your time today, Paulson. It's been fun.
Awesome, John. I appreciate your time as well. I'm glad we got a chance to make this happen. Those of you
Yeah.
that are watching our podcast, in case if you don't have a high level account, somewhere in the description or the channel, somewhere around here, there's a free trial of some kind. I would obviously invite you to check it out and also check out what John's got going on. I mean, they're doing some pretty cool things in the international capacity. And I think there's a opportunity to grow there. Integrations are a big place. We have a whole developers marketplace as well. So take a look at that. John, thanks for saying yes and joining.
Thanks, Paulson. Appreciate your time. And, talk soon.
All right, take care.